Welcome to the birthplace of Anna Jarvis. The story begins with Anna's parents. Her mother's name was Anne Marie Reeves, and she was born in Culpeper County, Virginia. And her dad happened to be a Methodist minister. But when she was 12, they were transferred over the western mountains of Virginia, which we were Virginia guys. I don't know where you're from, but we were Virginia until 1863. We became West Virginia. So they were transferred over the western mountains of Virginia to a place called Philippi. So she actually grew up there, met and married Granville in 1850, and had a couple of children. Now Granville's father was born down here in Pruitt-Town. He happened to be a Baptist minister, and he too was sent to Philippi to build a Baptist church over there. So they met and married, as I said, in 1850, and had a couple of children. When a friend of theirs said, you know what, you need to move to Webster, and that's the name of this little community. And they said, you need to go there because it's growing in leaps and bounds and would make a much better place for your mercantile business. Mercantile is like an old-time Walmart, okay? So they came over, checked it out, liked what they saw, and they immediately moved here. Now, when they came, they lived in a little log house up there on the hill first while they built this house in 1854 and moved in it the same year. So there were 43 families already in Webster. There was a woolen mill, grist mill, hotel, boarding house, a bordello saloon, and 3 churches. Today we don't have any of it left except the house and two churches. That's it. The reason it was booming was not any of those facts. It was the railroad ended here, the B&O Railroad ended, and also the road was called the Wheeling-Stanton Pike. At that time it was considered to be one of the safest, directest routes to travel from north to south. So that's why it was a lot of traffic going through like it is today. But he put his mercantile and livery stable across the road about where the building is setting in that area, because the creek has changed direction and the railroad is now up on the hill instead of down on the bottom. So if you can visualize all that. So the porch that you're sitting on is called a whistleway. Got an idea why we call it a whistleway? The porch?
Is it because both ends are
No. This down here is where Mrs. Jarvis' summer kitchen was located. If you happen to have servants or slaves, you ask them to whistle as they carry the food from the summer kitchen into the main house, so you know they weren't nibbling on your food. Now, she did not have slaves, but she did have servants every now and then. The buggy back was right there. He would bring his the family over with his buggy, let them step out so they wouldn't get their feet muddy or wet, and then take it over across to this thing. Maybe we're going inside this time, I guess. I was going to say if the key doesn't work, we're really in bad shape.
I hear you.
Over here's our guest book if you want to sign in. I give
Okay.
everybody, that's how I count how many go through the house for the time period.
Okay.
As you can see, you are in the kitchen, and when we got here in 1993, this house had sat empty since 1958. It wasn't lived in from that time on. So it was in disrepair, but it wasn't vandalized. So the wallpaper and paint colors are the original, reproduced and put back up. We've collected over 5,050 items for the museum since we opened it in '96. It did take us 2 years to restore it because we did it with our own time and our own money. So in this room we have the table that's Mrs. Jarvis's, a lot of the older utensils that you see hanging, and also some things in the cabinet here is theirs, and the washboard and the wash tub down there is theirs. So as time went on, you're standing right now on we didn't learn this until about 10 years ago, that is a trap door that was meant to hide slaves. So she did become a part of the Underground Railroad, Mrs. Jarvis. And I refer to her as that because people think Anna and Anna, but Anna's name is Anna Jarvis, and her mother's name is Anne Marie Reeves Jarvis. So they 2 different names, but people can't get that straight. So at any rate, I always like to tell people that we reproduce the wallpaper so that they know that it's what it is. And this took you on the other half of the basement. Down here you can't stand up, you just sit. But you can get about 50 people down there because it goes from that wall over to that one. Down here you can go down the steps and stand up, but there's cut stone wall dividing these 2 areas so that you can't see through it. And that's why it was a perfect place to hide his legs.
Okay.
But down in this is the dirt floor down on this side, but she even let people sleep down there. I don't know how they did it because you can smell the odors when it's damp. Okay, this takes you back in the backyard where the privy was in the apple orchard.
Okay.
And this is our grand hallway. It's called that because every room enters into this hallway somehow, some way.
Oh, man.
And this is called the parlor. Parlors were kept for very special companies such as a politician or maybe a circuit rider. But the Jarvises were definitely different. In the 52 years that Granville and Anne Marie were married, they never went to church one time together. He remained a Baptist and she remained Methodist. And all the children that lived also became Methodists. So on Sundays, they brought them here to the parlor so they could sing and play. They played the piano, the violin, harpsichord, dulcimer, flute, and I'm sure they played an organ. Now this piano is an 1860 Steinway. It belonged to Mrs. Jarvis, the mother. Has all the original parts to it and does still play. Not real good, but it plays. This is a photograph of the mother taken in 1904, the year before she passes away. And this is a wheelchair that she's in. This is Anna Jarvis in her 70s. And this is Mrs. Jarvis's older brother. His name is Dr. James Edmund Reeves. Now he did a lot of great things too. So in 1856, Taylor County had a plague. And it was killing mostly children. There was about 300 that died in the month of December. So she wrote her brother a letter and said, would you please come back home and help me because we've got to start saving these children. So he came and they formed the Mother's Day work clubs and began teaching women sanitary conditions. Boil everything, so forth and so on. Quit throwing your peelings out the back door. But he did help that with and he also started the West Virginia Medical Association, the National Association, and was the first pathologist in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he wrote the book on how to use the microscope properly. So he was famous in his own right, but because he was Methodist, he always told people he didn't want to toot his own horn. So it took us about 7 years to get him in the National Hall of Fame. It wasn't so hard for West Virginia, but there was no records of all the great things he did because he wouldn't do interviews at all. Now the Jarvises had 14 children totally, but only 4 of them became adults. And this is the oldest one that was became an adult. His name is Josiah W.P. Jarvis. He's the only child that married. Claude, Anne, and Lillian never married or had any kids. So he had a son named Claude, and Claude gave him 3 grandsons and a granddaughter. Well, the granddaughter wasn't allowed to be in the picture, only the dog was, because she was a girl and girls weren't important. So you didn't get to be in pictures with grandpas. This is Reverend Josiah Reeves and Nancy Reeves, the parents of Anne Marie that brought her over the mountain. And you can see the wheelchair bidder there. And this is Granville Jarvis, the father, up here. We don't have a lot of pictures of him, but that was one of them. And then this is Claude Jarvis, the other brother of Anna. And both Claude and Granville were great businessmen. They could make money on about anything. So Claude, he decided to go to Philadelphia and open the very first taxi service up there called Quaker Cab Company, and it's still in business today. Granville did many different things. He ran his mercantile. He was on a lot of the boards of the banks. We had 5 banks here in Grafton at that time. And he also ran for mayor of Grafton. But he didn't get it because he was going to do all these changes. I've been here since '93 and it hasn't changed. So these chairs belong to the Jarvises, and these are 3 of the children that died in the plague. Alonzo, Annie E., and Columbia. Now, Alonzo and Annie E., for some odd reason, was placed in the basement. They weren't buried in a coffin, but they were wrapped in something and buried under the dirt. We decided to leave them there. We did not remove them after we found them. But we don't know what they were wrapped in. None of the forensic stuff could find out. It was just something they were wrapped in. So, and these are Anna's shoes. They used to bronze shoes in the old days when I was young too. They did that because I'm getting old. Now, this is another picture we found of Granville Jarvis. When we went to Culpeper County, Virginia, we stopped at an antique store, and I wanted that frame because it was so unusual. I took the back off and it says Granville E. Jarvis, and he was at a Masons meeting. He was in the Masons at the time. So, and I'll tell you more about this bust of Anna Jarvis upstairs.
Okay.
And we'll come back to it about it. You can see how solid everything is.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing is creaking, nothing is flopping.
Did you all re-support anything? Or?
No, this is all exactly like we found it.
Oh, man. Built sturdy, that's for sure.
Yeah, the house, it had to be built that way, or wouldn't have lasted this long. It had the original roof on it up until I think we replaced that one 5 years ago. Had the original tin on it. So this was the toddler room. She kept her 2 to 6 year olds in this room due to the fact that the stovepipe came through from the cook stove, kept it warm. She didn't worry about a fireplace. Plus the afternoon sun bakes it pretty good and brings out all the stink bugs. So this doll is a doll that looks like little Anna at the age of 2. It was made especially to be put in this room. And I tell everybody it's our fun room, but everything in here has a story behind it. Because I've had 26 different countries to go through the house, now they are sending me dolls. We have Jamaica, Africa, Finland, and Germany so far that sent me a doll to put in memory of their mothers.
Man.
So that's why there's so many dolls in here. Or if you were 7 to 11, you would have slept in this room. So what we've done is to make it Anna Jarvis's after college. Almost everything in this room belongs to Anna Jarvis. All the stuff on the trunk, all the hats and shoes, this beautiful old coat and hat. I mean, she was easier to collect from because she didn't die until 1948. So Anna Jarvis was born in this house, but in 1865, when the Civil War ended, Granville knew the business was going to start dying, so he moved his family to Grafton, purchased a big hotel, opened his mercantile, kept this one, and let one of his employees live here for a little bit. He also sent all 4 of his children to college. Anna went to the Augusta Female Academy in Stanton, Virginia, where she happened to meet Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow's dad happened to be one of the deans of the college, so his birthplace is right beside it. Today it's called Mary Baldwin College. So she graduated with a degree in German. I do not know why. We had a lot of German families here, but I don't know if that's why. She taught school for about 7 years, but she didn't like that. So she decided to move to Philadelphia in 1890, and she started working at the Fidelity Mutual Insurance Company, where she retired from, and also it's still in business today too. So after she decided to go to Philadelphia, her father had passed away, but when he passed away, she came and got her mother and her sister and took them up there because her sister Lillian was already losing her sight. Now, when her dad died in 1902, he left her only, $400,000 cash and 7,000 acres of land in this little tiny county. So believe me, there's still people buying land that's still got their name on it. We don't know who's getting the money, but they're doing it. So she met Woodrow Wilson at college, and they became good friends. She never refers to any man as a suitor, a gentleman caller, a beau. I guess she never dated. I don't know if it was because she didn't like men, because they were putting her down all the time for wanting to start Mother's Day, or if she just didn't have time. But she never dated. But her and Woodrow became friends. So when he became president, she was able to get an audience with him, and that's when he signed Joint Resolution 263 on May 8th, 1914, making it a legal holiday for the very first time. And like I said, this hat here is one of her famous ones. This she wore in 1932 when Governor Conley said to her, "Will you come back to West Virginia and help dedicate our newly built Capitol?" And she said no. She was already mad at us. She thought every one of the fees that the banks charged, they were stealing her money. So she even chased a couple of our prominent bankers down the street with a chair. Was going to hit them over the head with it and all that kind of stuff. She was a Taurus. Her birthday and my birthday is the same day, May 1st. So anyway, she finally gave in and came, and she dedicated the West Virginia Charleston Capitol in 1932 to all mothers everywhere. And that's why the bust is down there. It was a prototype. If you go to the Capitol, you'll see the full bust of Anna Jarvis down there, and she is the only woman in the Capitol. Took me 9 months to get that done. So, we'll move to the next one. Excuse me. As you come out of this room, you'll see a picture of Anna's 5th Christmas. She was 5 years old there, and it used to be a bigger one, but it was damaged before I got it, so we cut it down. But this is another unusual trait. It's a split level. And he did it to keep the noise of the children down there away from his company room. And this is the company room. And this is the room that McClellan slept in when he was here setting up a command headquarters. So when he arrived, he slept here for a couple of nights, and then he moved on into Grafton, where he opened the command headquarters at the old hotel. So in this room, we have some Civil War stuff, some coal mining stuff, a wedding jacket dated 1847. Josiah also became a doctor, the one I told you that was married.
Mm-hmm.
He doctored in a little town called Fairview, West Virginia, and it's right outside of Fairmont. So this all came out of his office when they tore it down. And he was a very good doctor also, and he remained Methodist. And my favorite thing in here is my chamber pot in disguise. You don't see any ones like this very comfortable. They mostly look like that metal can over there. So, and this is Granville's mercantile ledger book. What confused me was he got paid with chickens, eggs, flour, and things like that. So how did he leave $400,000 cash? Well, after we became a state, he dabbled in coal, real estate, and timber. So that's where he got his money. Over here is Colonel Kelly's visible writer. They did not call it typewriter. They call it a visible writer. And he did his memoirs on this after the war ended. But he was one of the generals that was here at that time, generals at that time. So his family gave me a picture of his burial site along with the piano. Oh, you're really tired. The typewriter. This here is from the B&O station in Grafton. We got the desk, the typewriter and check writer. And these were given to all the guests when they dedicated that big hotel in town in 1912. And it is real gold. And there's no other one like it. I have no idea why the woman saved it, but she did. And there was 500 people that got one. But they all just tossed them because they had Willard on it. Didn't mean anything to them. So they tossed those plates away. So they threw away money. Here is the master bedroom, and the room that Adam Jarvis was actually born in on May 1st, 1864, right in the middle of the Civil War. Now she was the 10th child. By this time, all the other little girls had died, so Josiah was really excited. He decided to carve her name into the mantle here, which we found under 9 layers of paint when we took all the paint off, so that's why we didn't repaint it. But he carved her name in. I'm sure he got a spanking when Mom felt better. So in this room, of course, we have Granville and Anne Marie, Anna Jarvis and her brother Claude. Our matchlock is one of the oldest pieces in the house. It dates back to the Jamestown era. These are Mrs. Jarvis's shoes, her trunk, her dresser, things in a shadow box, along with her marriage certificate back there in the corner, and the picture that hung above her bed until her death in 1905, called Faith, Hope, and Charity. Now, as they lowered her into the grave, Anna's standing there remembering things, and one of the things she remembered was in the church downtown. When her mother was teaching Sunday school, she would say, I wish somebody would set aside a day to honor mothers. Let them have one whole day off. You don't have to give them anything or buy them anything. Just let them sit on the back porch with a cup of coffee all day. Nobody yelling, Mom, Mom, Mom. Well, she didn't get to do it. So Anna thought, this might be a good way to honor my mother along with all mothers. So she left the graveyard and went straight home and started writing letters to churches, organizations, prominent people, anybody that would listen. Well, she got told right away, we love and revere our mother, but she does not need a day off, so stop trying to get a day. I have about 45 of those letters. And so that's why I said maybe she just didn't like men because they didn't want to work with her. But she met Mr. Wallamaker eventually, and I think in his vision, he saw he could make money because he had mercantile stores and things like that. So he decided to help her. Without his help, I doubt that she would have ever gotten Mother's Day. But he put her in with the representatives, and they went to Woodrow Wilson, and he said, okay. So they got that all done. So in this, we also know that, it took her from 1905 to 1914. She didn't stop there. She actually traveled around the world until it's the only international holiday we have today. It is celebrated in at least 152 countries today. And I've had, like I said, 26, and it's really been interesting. So we also have 2 wedding gowns. They used to make their gowns black so that they would have their church and funeral clothing. And we show the old horsehair and lime walls in here the way they really looked when we came. And that closet stays cold all the time. That's where our 2 little kids stay, our little ghosts.
No, you got it covered.
All right, let's go back to the dining room.
All right. I got to get this over here real quick. Okay, I'm flying through.
I see I gotta put some stuff away. The girls brought it over, they just set it down.
Oh, I didn't see
Put
that.
anything away. I have volunteers here, that's all I have, so nobody gets paid here, but sometimes they get afraid of the ghosts, so they hurry up and get it set down and then run out back out the door. I've been here since '93 and no ghost has ever hurt me. And I've slept in this place, so. This was the dining room originally. Colonel Latham came to Mrs. Jarvis and asked for permission to use it as a headquarters for General George B. McClellan. And she said, yes, you may, if you remember that I am composed of both blue and gray and will not take sides. So, McClellan arrived here on June 22nd, 1861 by train from Ohio. This was the Marion Baker Marching Band that played for him when he got here. This is a sketch of the house. It's kind of crazy, but because it was 4 trees out front. But they're waiting for their mail call down in front of the house, and of course they don't have it up on the hill. They just have it flat. And these are all the generals that were here: Dumont, Kelly, Rosencraft, and McClellan. We also know that they built blockhouses, livery stables, and everything else while they were here, because this man spent 15 years of researching just the Civil War part of this house. So the 9th Indiana came first, and they got measles, so Mrs. Jarvis asked her club to come together and let's take care of these bands so we don't lose very many of them. It doesn't say if they did lose them or not. We have no idea how many people might have died here. But at any rate, he did do a good job there. This is Claude Jarvis's will. He died in 1926, and he left equally everything to his 2 sisters. Well, Lillian was funny because she said in 1926 she couldn't live on $30,000 a year. I don't make that out of my Social Security, so I don't know how she couldn't. I couldn't live on it. I would have been rich. Our dishes range anywhere from 1800 up. This is what they give me sometimes for my birthday or my Christmas, because I don't want to collect anything, so they put something in the house for me. And this is a cannonball that was found on this side of the road while we were planting flowers, and the lock, buttons, and bullets, the same thing. This cannonball here was found across the road when we were flooded in 2001 and lost about everything over there. We just got our building built. So that's why it's up in the air today. This is one of the cannons used in the Battle of Philippi on June 3rd, 1861. It's called the First Man Battle of the Civil War. And so they marched from here, and Kelly went down 119 and Dumont went down 92, and they were supposed to meet and start surprising the Confederacy. Well, Kelly ran into Mrs. Thomas Humphreys, and she put her son on a horse to go warn them. They yanked him off. She put him back again. They yanked him off. So she took a gun out of her bosom and shot it at Kelly. Missed him, but that put the signal to Dumont to go ahead and start firing the cannons off what they call A.B. Hill today. That's where the college is. So of course, the Confederacy got away because of the woman. They rubbed that in a lot to me. This is McClellan's desk, his pen and inkwell, and his field glasses. And he wrote his wife Ellen every single night to tell her what his thoughts were. And he would say he didn't want to go into battle until he was sure he wouldn't lose a man. Well, you can't fight a war without losing people. So he was fired by President Lincoln, rehired, fired again, and then they became bitter enemies. So he ran for president and lost, and that didn't help. So they really did become. And of course, this is the man that owns the cannon. This is his reenactment outfit. He's 89 right now. No, 98, I'm sorry. 98, so he retired his time and gave the stuff here to show, so. Let's see what else there is to tell you about. in this room. But this is why we set it up, was to show what the Civil War part of the house was. We have a new sign coming on the 6th. It'll be across the road now instead of that cruddy one out there. That tells the story of what McClellan did while he was here.
Now I'm trying to figure out how come this thing's so sturdy. Is this stucco on the wall or what? Why?
No, that was plaster. We did the stucco, or that what we call, that's kind of silly.
Yeah.
To just preserve it, and because of the cracks, but there's a lot of cracks cracking now again. I did learn how to do the old time plaster, so if I ever get a minute to my name again, we're going to fix some of these cracks. But it's probably because of heat and cold and heat, cold, hot, cold, hot, that this is happening. And they took the fireplace out in the guest room because the lady that bought the house in 1908 and lived here until 1958 had a daughter to burn up in it. So because of that, she fixed the fire down here and let it go up through those vents. She wouldn't let them have a fireplace in their room anymore.
Okay.
So because it was the Willis Preston Felton heirs actually bought the house in 1908 and lived here until 1958. Yeah.
What is that?
That's the vent that takes the heat upstairs.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And it's just a vent. It's nothing else. It's like an old
Yeah.
house. And we have an original letter from President Lincoln. I get things, people throw things away and then you get them. So this was a book that was thrown away. Took it out of the box, and under the box was tissue paper. Opened it up and there's a letter. And it's signed by President Lincoln. Well, you automatically assume it's fake. So I take it to WVU. It's not fake, and it's been one of the missing letters of his collection for over 50 years, and it was thrown in a dumpster.
Oh, wow.
So I made a copy of it and put it up there. He wrote it to a lady that had lost 5 sons in one battle, and Lincoln wanted to personally give the condolence on that one. So it was a letter that had been missing from his collection. I didn't know this either. So I told him I had a letter. So now it's where it belongs with his collection. The original is.
Okay.
And I just got a copy of it. Do you have any questions on this part?
No, you're covering it all. That is. Are we going downstairs? I'm curious.
No, we don't let anybody
Okay,
know.
I
It's
figured.
too dangerous. The steps are only this wide. And the dirt floor, it does retain water sometimes, so I never take anybody down there.
Okay.
But no, that's one place that is off limits.
Now, is this whole thing built out of wood?
Yes, our floor joists are this wide, and they're notched. Do you notice when nothing's going up and down?
Yeah, that's
so
what
notch, the notch in it, and you notice our plates here are not wore out.
Yeah.
It's because the floor gives as we walk. It just gives enough that you can't feel it. But it doesn't wear the floor out. These are all original floors.
Okay. Whoa, I'm backing up into the wrong thing.
That's right. But it's all original floors, and I learned a lot. I mean, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I learned something every day. Every day I learned something. Just like this band. You guys notice anything different about this band? I do. I've had this picture up since probably '96. Never noticed it. See, all the instruments are backwards. That is a certain band that is played for really important people so that you're not blowing the noise into their face. But it's called something, and when the guy comes back, I'm going to make him put it on my picture because I can't remember what it is. But
Heck.
Your instruments are all backwards to play them. So that was something I recently just learned about that. It just, like I say, people come in here and I'll say something and they'll say, "Did you know?" Like Mrs. Jarvis, the nurse's note said they gave her whiskey and champagne. Well, to us, that's kind of silly. But the whiskey was for pain and the champagne was to settle her stomach when she was dying.
Okay.
That was their medicine. So I didn't know that. I just read it in the nurse's notes that they kept notes of what they did every day. I'm thinking, why are they giving her whiskey and champagne? She was a Christian. She would have never drank it. So... But anyhow, and of course, Mrs. Jarvis is somebody I'd like to be because she could get people to do the right thing. Like after the war ended, all the men were still fighting because we were divided here. Everything south went south and everything north went north. But she got them together at the Prettytown courthouse and she spoke to them. And she played Star Spangled Banner first for the north and then way down south for Dixie for the south. And then she had them to play Old Lang Syne. By the time they got to the part that said, "Will acquaintances be forgotten?" they laid down their weapons and hugged. And they didn't fight anymore. She spoke first, but nobody knows what she said. Nobody recorded that. I wish they would have said something, but they didn't. They just said she's going to get shot. I tell all the guys everywhere, they're going to shoot her because she's talking to all these guys and they're mad at each other. But no, she talked after that and did the music. They laid them down and they got back together, started helping each other get their gardens and their fields and everything taken care of again. So she did a lot of great things like that. So, all right, well, if you don't have any more questions, we go out. This is why the phone shows this. He had a front door and a back door. So he could escape either way.
Yeah.
Takes us back to the kitchen.
And we're done, ain't we?
And we're done. If y'all don't have any other questions.
No. Y'all got any?
No.
So did you learn something?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, a
we
lot?
learned a lot more than
Yes.
something.
Sometimes when the kids come, the only two things they remember most of all, the cannon and the whistle way. Those are two things they really like. Oh man, that's called a whistle way. So, but
Yeah, we just call them breezeway. Well, whistleway, I understand that, but breezeway because of the open, that's probably what she was
Right.
thinking
Yeah.
of.
right, that's what most of us thought. That's what I thought too until I read the rest of it. And
She
it was
kicking us
because-
out now?
I'm kicking him.
Oh, man.
Next stop is go get grandkids from school and take them home.
I hear you. So we are going to get out of your
I don't have
hair.
a dull moment in my life. I started at 5 o'clock this morning and came in at
Now,
home.
is there an internet?
And that's where the summer kitchen was. And then we got like summer stuff because if I don't get time to mow pretty soon and get it out, it's not going to be ready for Mother's Day. But that's next week's project. Get everything mowed and weeded and gardens cleaned and all the pots put in and beautiful flower thing and everything. So that's what's in there right now. It's just a dirt floor.
Now, is this original fence?
Yes, that's the original fence. It's not doing real well right now, and I can't find anybody that knows how to work on it. I got to take bars off of windows in downtown Grafton on the historical side, and I can't find anybody to do that because we want to put new windows in, and they want the bars off before they do it. It was a bank, so they kept bars on these windows,
Uh-huh.
and they're the originals, but they're embedded pretty deep. I don't know.
Hope you all enjoyed the video. Have a good day, and we will see you all on the next one.